Title: A Night with a Ghost. One unforgettable encounter once upon a time. I had a strange experience in my house. It only happened for one night, and I want to share this unusual story with you. I was 35 years old and lived alone in my house, where I still reside today. Back then, I had been living in my house for about 2 or 3 years, and everything was pretty normal until that specific night. On this particular evening, I was in my bedroom, reading a book. My bedroom was a regular-sized room, and my bed was placed in a way that I could see the open bedroom door. Since I didn't have any pets and there was no special reason to close the door, I left it wide open. Reading before going to sleep was a common habit for me. So I was sitting up in bed with the light on, deeply engrossed in my book. However, something strange started happening. A creepy feeling began to slowly creep over me. It was as if someone was watching me. No matter how hard I tried to focus on my book, I couldn't shake off the sensation that I was being observed. I kept looking up from my book, glancing into the rest of the house, which was dark because I had turned off all the lights. There was no sound, no light. I had made sure to lock both the front and back doors as I did every night. I lived in Minneapolis, which was generally a safe place, so there was no reason to feel worried about my neighborhood. But no matter what I did, I just couldn't concentrate on my book. This feeling of being watched continued to grow stronger and stronger. Have you ever watched TV with someone who just keeps staring at you while you're watching the screen? You don't need to turn and look at them, but you can feel their eyes on you. It was that kind of eerie feeling. What's odd is that I didn't feel like I was in immediate danger, at least not directly. It was just a strange and unsettling sensation, but I didn't think someone was about to attack me. I tried to dismiss it and continue reading, but it was impossible. So I decided to turn off the light and try to go to sleep, hoping that the sensation would fade away. However, instead of fading, it became even more intense. It always felt like this presence was just outside my bedroom door, lurking in the darkness of the rest of the house. After a few minutes of this intense feeling, I realized that I couldn't fall asleep. I began to worry that maybe my subconscious was sensing a real threat that I was ignoring. This was a time before cell phones were as common as they are today, so I couldn't just text a friend to come over. I could have called someone, I suppose, but I ended up doing something quite foolish. I got out of bed. I turned on the lights in the dining room. Of course, there was no one there. I chuckled to myself, feeling silly for my irrational fears, and turned off the light. But as soon as I turned off the light, the feeling of being watched returned, just as strong as before. So I decided to confront it. I grabbed my softball bat, and in what was probably the bravest and silliest move I've ever made, I walked through the entire house, turning on every light along the way. I checked every room, searching in every nook and cranny, including the basement and behind the basement stairs. I double-checked the front and back doors, both securely locked. I even ventured upstairs, even though it was still undergoing renovations, and meticulously inspected every corner. By then, it had been almost an hour since I first felt that eerie sensation while reading in bed. If someone with bad intentions had actually been in my house, my little aluminum bat wouldn't have been much help. But I felt pretty sure that I was the only one in the house, and it was probably just my imagination playing tricks on me. I was convinced that the house was empty, so I headed back to my bedroom. I left only the bedside light on. I was still a bit shaken and couldn't believe I had felt the need to search the whole house in the first place. I mean, who does that, right? I laughed at myself for being so scared and went back to reading my book. But guess what? That eerie feeling of being watched returned. It was like it just wouldn't go away. At this point, I started paying even closer attention to this strange feeling. Did I feel like I was in danger? Not really. Did it feel like some evil, ghostly spirit was haunting me? No, not exactly. I just couldn't shake the feeling, and it was really bothering me. It was unsettling, to say the least, but it didn't seem like it was whispering scary stuff like kill, or anything like that. It felt more intentional, like there was some presence trying to communicate with me rather than trying to scare me away. So, there I was in the dark living room, and I decided to speak up. "I don't want you here. Please go away," I said. But you know what? Nothing changed. The weird feeling persisted. I tried different things, like saying, "I don't know what you want," and even going to the light, like they do in that old Poltergeist movie. Looking back, it seems a bit silly to yell these things, but I just didn't know how else to handle the situation. I can't say for sure if I believed in ghosts or not, and I had experienced some strange and eerie things in my life, but nothing quite like this, nothing so deliberate, and the feeling of being watched just wouldn't let up. Finally, I accepted that I wasn't going to get any sleep that night. I did my best to read my book, knowing that there was no one else in the house with me. When I woke up in the morning, the bedroom light was still on, and my book was resting on my chest. I had last checked the time around 4:00 a.m. I felt completely exhausted, like I hadn't slept a wink, and my eyes were stinging from the lack of rest. Strangely, the feeling of being watched had disappeared. I walked around the house and everything seemed normal, just like any other day. So, I decided to call in sick to work and slept until noon. Since I had the day off, I decided to keep myself busy with household projects. I was in the middle of sorting through a filing cabinet, throwing out old papers to make room for new ones, when my phone suddenly rang. I was sitting on the floor, surrounded by papers. The voice on the other end asked, "Is this Eddie Redderuff?" I confirmed my identity but didn't recognize the caller's voice. This was back in the days before telemarketing calls were so annoying. If this happened today, I might have just hung up instead of answering. The voice continued, "I'm a friend of Richard." Richard. "I'm very sorry to inform you that he passed away yesterday afternoon after a long illness. You were one of the friends he wanted to be notified. Richard and I had been friends during college. He had once told me he had strong romantic feelings for me, but I didn't feel the same way. We stayed friends but slowly drifted apart, partly because he liked going out to parties and wearing fancy clothes and jewelry, while I preferred spending time gardening and reading books. It was a peaceful parting of ways, no drama involved. He was a good person, and we had some great years of friendship. I hadn't been in touch with him since I moved to Minneapolis. I was a bit surprised to find out that I was on his list of people to be notified. The moment she mentioned Richard's passing, I just knew it. I was absolutely sure that it had been Richard in my house the previous night. Everything suddenly made sense. The feeling of being watched, the absence of any real danger, the strong sense that he wanted me to acknowledge his presence. Richard had said his goodbye, and so that brings us to the end of this extraordinary tale. It's a story of a single, inexplicable night that forever changed the way I view the world around me. A night filled with eerie feelings, unexplained sensations, and a presence that defied all rational explanation. Looking back, I can't help but wonder about the mysteries of our world. We often go about our lives believing we understand everything, but every now and then something happens that challenges our understanding of reality. As I share this story with you, I hope it reminds you that the world is a vast and mysterious place, and there are phenomena and experiences that can't be easily explained. It's a reminder to keep an open mind and to embrace the unknown, even when it sends shivers down your spine. We may never truly know what happened that fateful night, but it serves as a testament to the inexplicable wonders that exist in our world. It's a story that leaves us with more questions than answers, and perhaps that's the beauty of it. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And if you have any thoughts, theories, or similar experiences to share, please feel free to do so in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more intriguing tales in the future. Until next time, remember to keep an open heart and an open mind, because you never know what stories might be lurking just beyond your bedroom door. I've never experienced anything like that in my house ever since that night.